What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to A Dad's Life Show. My name's Christian, and here we talk about the good and bad, the ups and downs of being a dad. Now today, I'm bringing on a guest that's very special to me and what I believe can bring some awesome stuff for all you out there. He's actually my uncle. He's my uncle, and I'm really stoked for you all to hear his story because not only is my uncle, he's also spent his entire career in the police force out in Scottsdale, achieving some amazing accomplishments out there for that city. And not only that, he's also a dad, or else we wouldn't be bringing him on here, right? He's a dad to three amazing kids that are doing absolutely phenomenal with their journey of getting into, adulthood and all that kind of stuff. And so again, I'm extremely excited for him to come onto the show, share his story, share his ups and downs that he's experienced, not only with the police force, but with his family as well. And overall, just super excited for y'all to meet him and to hear his story. So let's give him a big welcome. Welcome on. I call him Uncle Tommy, but the rest of y'all know him as Sergeant Tom Jensen. Welcome to the show.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you. How are you and the family and everyone doing?
Good. I had to remember how to use Zoom. I haven't done a Zoom meeting in about 10 months, 11 months.
Get to see people in actual real life now, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Right on. Well, again, thanks for taking the time to do this interview and everything with me. Really excited to get some good content, kind of hear your story, everything you've kind of been through and stuff as a dad and as a police officer and everything like that. And, I think that your experiences and the things that you've been through can, really help some other people out as well. So again, thanks for having some time to spend with me and do this.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, diving right into it, kind of, obviously you've been, your career's been with the police force there in Scottsdale. How long were you with the police force for?
Approximately 26 and a half years. Okay. So I started in 1994. Started as a civilian, as a police aide, which they take the accident reports and do investigations that don't involve in-progress crimes. So kind of started my career off doing that for about 6 to 9 months, and then went into the academy, became a full-fledged police officer, and then just stayed for about 26 and a half years.
Wow. And then what did you, because you recently retired, right?
Yeah, I retired in January.
Okay. So what was your last title? You were sergeant?
I was a sergeant, basically finished my last 2 years in the department in personnel, doing the recruiting and backgrounds on new hires for pretty much every aspect of the department, from dispatcher to police officer, and everything in between. Before that, I was the training unit sergeant and work patrol. I was the DUI sergeant. And then before that, I was obviously patrol sergeant again. And then before that, I was in traffic enforcement. I was a motor officer for 7.5 years. And part of the DUI unit back then too, as an officer. And then prior to that, just work patrol. So had a number of different roles throughout the years, and worked a lot of nights, worked a lot of weekends. Kind of leads into the whole dad thing of, how that can affect you and how you can get caught up in that real quick. One of the things I saw people do throughout my entire career was married to the job, live the job, always at work. And it starts to become work is easier. It's easier to be at work than at home with your kids and your wife and your family, because you're not in charge. You're not the boss. You don't run things when you're at home. And so when you're at the police department, you're, either if you're of rank, you are in charge and people listen to you. And when you're at home, not so much. So you kind of have to balance that. And then the big thing is just working nights and weekends and the irregular shifts. And it's tough to balance that with family. And that's the key to going through your entire career and creating a career that supports your family. But it's important to make that balance so that they're there at the end. So I was successful navigating that, where I saw a lot of people's marriages and families fall apart because they either just didn't get it in time, or their families were just done with the job versus, them coming second. And so you got to make sure, no matter what you do in any career, you've always got to make time for the kids. You've always got to make time for your wife, and you got to listen. You got to communicate. You got to, when you're hearing things that don't sound so good, you don't just leave and go to work. You got to go, okay, time out. What's up? And so you got to take the time to listen to what your wife's saying, listen to what the kids are saying, and actually hear them so that you can make those changes that make it better for you as a dad. So I was able to do that, and I had a good, strong wife to remind me of those things and pull me aside and tell me when I was not doing well at that, and forced me to communicate. And there was a couple times I had to leave certain assignments or stop, chasing the promotions in order to make sure that my family was intact. And so a lot of people don't do that. And so in the end, they suffer. Either they get divorced or their kids they grow up not knowing them. And, before you know it, they're retiring and their kids are grown up and they're like, hey, I'm here. And the kids are like, yeah, but you haven't been, and we got our own lives now and you're not part of it. So a lot of lessons throughout my career. And so those are things that I'll be able to pass along to my kids as they develop into their careers. And two of them right now are pretty much getting started in that. And my youngest, I get to spend every day with him, working out and talking about just kind of the pitfalls of life and the challenges that come along and how to kind of navigate those. And, all the drugs in the schools and all the peer pressure and, people trying to get him to use drugs and drink alcohol, and, trying to explain to him the chemistry and the science behind all that, developing brains, and, just stuff that our schools aren't teaching and the teachers aren't teaching and most parents aren't teaching. And so I have a pretty unique background being part of that for so long. I'm able to kind of impart some of that wisdom onto him, and hopefully he listens, otherwise he has to learn it the hard way. And, we'll navigate that as well. Just, the thing is you can't give up on your kids. You can't give up on their future. And the more successful you make them early in life, the less effort you have to put in later. So that's kind of the way I look. That's an investment early so that later on they're successful, and you don't necessarily have to worry about, where they're going to be and, how they're going to support themselves and their families. So.
Absolutely. I mean, looking back, was it 11 years now? I mean, I went through all that. I had to learn the hard way. And, the one thing I'll never forget is you came out to San Diego, and you helped me out a lot. And so, I'll always be grateful for that, especially, as I was in my teens and stuff, and, going down the dark side of life and everything, no matter what, at the end of the day, you were always, you were there for me. And, and through that, I got to come out and spend some good time out in Arizona with you. Got to go on a couple patrol rides with you, which was a lot of fun. And then just to kind of see, at that time you were doing the DUI stations and stuff like that. And it was really cool. And you guys had a lot of success with cleaning up Scottsdale and preventing, a lot of accidents and just bad stuff happening from, drinking and driving and all that, huh?
Right. Yeah. We had a lot of success in 2013. We didn't have any impaired driver related fatalities in our city. That was attributed to a lot of the work that the officers did, and as far as making arrests and educating drivers on not driving impaired, obviously. And just, to me, that's a success, was when you don't have to knock on someone's door and tell them that their family members aren't coming home. That's kind of one of the worst parts of our job throughout my career, was knocking on someone's door and saying, hey, your loved one's not coming home. Because, as well as I do, your aunt, Nicole, was killed in a car accident, and my wife was seriously injured in a motorcycle accident. So when you're dealing with those kinds of things on a personal level, it's devastating to have to go deal with that, from a service perspective. It's just a tough thing. And obviously somebody has to do it. And I felt I was in a unique position having those experiences to do that and be able to make an impact. So.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just a big accomplishment to be able to save lives that way and stuff like that. And, something that can be easily prevented. Unfortunately, not all humans think about those things, but, I was really, really impressed, and it showed me a lot in the work that can be done, and something that you guys organized, and it was a huge success. So, the city of Scottsdale saved a lot of lives, and has continued. So, so that was some awesome work that you guys did there. Now, I did want to talk to you about, Deanna's accident and stuff like that. That happened in early 2000s.
Yeah, 2002.
Okay. So, kind of explain, what happened with their accident and all that kind of stuff.
One of our police sergeants was killed in a training accident. And so about a week after the training accident had taken his life, we had set up all the funeral arrangements to do his funeral. And my wife and I were the motor officers in the procession for Scottsdale because we had gone to motor school together and became motors together. So she was the first female motor. And so she was riding in the procession that day. And we'd finished up the procession, finished up at the cemetery, and we're heading back to the church. And I had taken the family of the fallen sergeant home. I'd escorted them home with my lieutenant and my sergeant. And Deanna and a couple of the other motors had headed to the church. And while that was happening, I had heard over the radio that a motor officer had crashed. And so I was probably about 6 blocks away when I heard that come out. And it was in the kind of direct location of where I knew she was heading. And so right away I thought, holy cow, I hope that's not her, And so we, beat feet over there. And when I got there, first thing I saw was the bike that I had spent probably 4 or 5 hours the day before cleaning, making sure that it was perfect for the funeral. And I was like, I know that's the bike, and it was pretty much destroyed. And then I saw her laying in the road and she was turning blue. And I know what that means when you see someone that's not breathing and they're turning blue, that it's not good. So there was another motor officer with her that was laying in the street next to her. And luckily there was an ambulance and paramedics right behind them when they were heading to the church, because they went to the funeral as well with the ambulance. So that's usually when they have big processions and stuff, they have fire trucks and all that kind of stuff. So luckily they were right behind her. And so they were able to pull up right away and render aid and get her into the ambulance and, get her to the trauma room down at the time it was Scottsdale Memorial Osborne. And so I took off my gear and got in the ambulance with her and rode down there, and they worked on her for quite a while and got her breathing and got her, at least alive. And for the next, 31 days, she was going through all kinds of surgeries and, just massive, severe traumatic injuries that, the trauma surgeon told me a couple of days later that, hey, I've only seen 2 people make it to the emergency room in her condition in my career. And the other person didn't make it. And, she's a fighter, and we're lucky that she survived. And it was one of those things where you're like, okay, just tell me that she's going to be okay. I don't need to hear all that, because you're just, you don't know what to do. I mean, at the time I didn't know where the checkbook was. I had a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old daughter, and a 2.5-year-old son, 6-month-old daughter. And, I'm not mom, I'm just dad. And, most of the time I'm working, and, she handles most of the house stuff as far as mom stuff goes. And so now I've got these 2 little kids. I've got this wife in the hospital. And, so for 31 days, they told me in the beginning, they said, yeah, she'll probably be in the hospital for 4 to 6 months. And then, 31 days later of fighting and making sure she was taken care of, she walked out of the hospital. She had a external fixator and a walker and a wheelchair and stuff, but she walked out of the hospital on her own 2 feet, on her own power. So she was determined to get back to those kids, and just very motivated and determined woman, and very strong. So I was very lucky that she was who she was on that day. And it changed our lives forever. But I think, as much as she hated giving up her career, and that ended up retiring her, as much as she hated giving up her career, she was able to be home with my kids and grow up, have them grow up under her supervision. And when your mom's a cop and your dad's a cop and mom's home, and there's not a whole lot you can get away with, and things get corrected very quickly. And as well as I do, having kids, it can easily get by you if you're not paying attention, and they'll test you every day. And so I think we were blessed in that respect. She obviously, was a little bit, disappointed that she didn't get to finish her career. She, had a lot of amazing accomplishments, being the first female motor. She had sights on becoming a SWAT operator and doing some different things throughout her career that she wanted to do, and she wasn't able to finish that out. So in that respect, she was not successful in the end, but the success that she has with our kids and the things that she's been able to kind of navigate them through is, to me, worth, 1,000 times more than anything she would have got out of her career. So, and she made me very successful.
No, she's definitely one tough lady for sure. She doesn't put up with any crap, and as the first female motorist, I mean, she's definitely had a lot of great accomplishments. And I mean, to like you said, to walk out of there, without any help, she's she's very independent, and she's a tough lady. What were some of the, how was it? How did you manage with her? I mean, luckily she was only in the hospital, you said, for about 31 days, but how did you manage those 31 days with trying to, take care of the kids as well as be there, as well as just the mental state that I could only imagine that you were in?
It's funny you asked that question because by the end of it all, I had come down with pneumonia and spinal meningitis. And I was admitted into the hospital, but ultimately ended up going back to work. But as far as like the people that came out of the woodwork to help us, I mean, the police department is like a giant family, and you don't realize it until something bad happens. But there was officers and dispatchers and detention officers and police aides and crime scene specialists and you name it. Everybody in the department that works there was raising their hand to come help us. And so we had people bringing us food every day. We had people, asking if we needed them to, cut our grass. And I'm like, okay, I don't have any grass. We're in Arizona, but thank you. So just every time I turned around, someone was trying to help us. And then obviously our immediate family, was pretty helpful when it came to taking care of the kids and helping me with that, because I was back and forth home to the hospital, every day. I'd get up, in the morning with her, get her started on her day. And then as soon as she was, getting to where she was kind of going to rest for the evening, I'd head home, make sure the kids had food, make sure they were, getting off to bed, and that they saw dad at least once during the day. And then when they went to bed, I was back to the hospital just to make sure that the hospital staff was taking care of her like she needed to take care of her. And we had some lunatics that came by the hospital because of all the news stories and stuff. So I kind of wanted to be there. We had officers assigned there because there were some crazy people that were, trying to see her and wanted to talk with her. And it's like, yeah, that's not what we're doing here. And so it was interesting for sure. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was the PD was just such a huge help, and family, just something you'd never see in a lot of businesses. Scottsdale was just amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's something you don't see very often at all. So you got really lucky with having such a great team and department over there to help you out with. That's pretty awesome. Well, it's funny because I remember one day when that was happening, I was actually at Belmont Park down in Mission Beach, and there was a family that was talking about a motorcyclist woman in Arizona. And they were talking about it in the bathroom, and my mom turned around and she was like, "Wait, you're from where?" And you're talking, that's my sister-in-law. And so it was interesting. It did make a lot of news and stuff like that. And so I can only imagine the people that were trying to come in there and stuff. And that's the last thing you want to be doing is, answering questions and talking about the whole deal as you're trying to recover from it and everything like that. So
yeah, especially when you don't know. At the time we didn't know if she was going to survive, if she was going to walk again. I mean, there were so many unknowns, and these people are showing up at the hospital, and luckily our department, said, what, time out. We're going to assign some officers as security for her, make sure that nobody's coming in there that shouldn't be in there. Because, the security at the hospital it's good for normal conditions, but when you've got, so many people around and you just never know. So.
absolutely. Absolutely. So moving into another question here, obviously your kids are growing up, you know what I mean? Jax is 21. How old is Brinkley now?
Brinkley's 20.
Okay. And then Justice is
16.
Okay, awesome. So what are some different tips that you've found helpful with, raising your kids and helping them be able to kind of find a career path and what they want to do?
Funny you say that, because it was kind of a thing to navigate, because you think to yourself, well, my kids can just do what I did, and in this case one of them did, but my daughter, there's so many different jobs and opportunities that were available to her, and she had done the right things throughout her life to be eligible and to qualify for those positions, but she just didn't have any interest in working for a police department. That just wasn't her passion. And so we talked a lot about, you can go work for an airline, you can be a flight attendant, you can go, just so many different jobs that we had talked about. And she settled on, I want to be a personal trainer. I want to help people with their fitness goals. I want to help people with their nutrition goals. I just want to help people. And it doesn't matter if they're young kids that are trying to play sports, adults that want to do bodybuilding or CrossFit, or just elderly people that can't walk and want to do water aerobics, because I don't care what it is, as long as I can help people on a regular basis and daily. That's my passion. And at first I was like, okay. And I've known personal trainers throughout my life that have made, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 a year and very successful. And she just had such a passion for it that, after talking about it with her, I'm like, well, if you believe that strongly, I'll tell you this: if you go to work every day and you look forward to going to work and it's your passion and you enjoy it, it's not going to be like work. Especially if you're helping people and you go home at the end of the day and you're driving in the car and you go, man, I got a lot of value out of what I did today. So it's not necessarily about the money. It's more about the fulfillment of the position that you're in. And if you can get that from any job, I think that I really wouldn't even call it work, because I had that for 26 and a half years. I really enjoyed going to work every day. I enjoyed what I did. I was fortunate to work for really good people and have really good assignments and just enjoy what I did. And then when I started supervising people, I was able to make their working environment a good place. And so for me, I wanted that for my kids. I wanted them to be able to go to work and enjoy going to work for somebody or a person that truly cared about them, valued them, and knew that, hey, these are the people that are making things happen. And these are the things that are making me successful as a supervisor or manager. And I think she's found that. So she's super happy. I mean, every time she comes home, she tells me about all her clients and, all the different things that they're doing and just how excited she gets at their progress and their success. And, I think it was the first couple of weeks she had like 20 or 30 clients, which is like unheard of in personal training. Just everybody wanted to train with her. And so she's doing really well, very proud of her. And I think she's picked the right thing. I don't know what it'll develop into over the years and if that's something she's going to stick with. But for now, man, that's it. She loves it, and she loves the fitness part of it too. She's working out every day, and nutrition's, paramount with her. And so I'm happy, she's happy. I'm happy. And that's the thing, is a lot of parents, want their kids to go to college, or they want their kids to do this job, or at the end of the day, they've got to choose it. They've got to pick it. And it's got to be something that's right for them. And every one of your kids is different. All three of my kids are completely different. They all want different things. They all have different personalities and different characteristics about them that make them who they are. And they choose something that you may necessarily not choose for yourself. Okay. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that that's their choice. And I know me, I tried a bunch of different things when I was coming up, growing up, and I was doing real estate and I was working in the gym and, doing different things. I was going to school and went to DeVry Institute of Technology, to learn computer stuff, and, tried a bunch of different stuff, and it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I did a ride along with the police department. I was like, man, this is it. This is fun, man. I get to help people. I get to go out and respond to calls and, help people on their worst days. And to me, it just was a fit. And my oldest son, he's figuring out the same thing. He really enjoys it. He likes to go out and arrest bad guys that are doing bad things and victimizing people in the public. And so he gets fulfillment from that. He sees a lot of value in that. So I think he's found the right career. And we have conversations all the time. I told my daughter and my son, I said, if some point you get to a point in your career and you feel like, yeah, I'm not good with this anymore, I'm not happy in this job anymore, then we have a conversation about something else or what else you might want to do. And just to leave that open. I don't want them to feel locked into something just because they've committed to something. Because if you're not happy, you're not going to do a job well. And so that would be my advice to them, is if you're in a career, even if you're making a ton of money, or even if you're, feel like you're stuck, there's always options, and there's so many different things that you can do in life. And you just gonna have to kind of sift through them and find out what's right for you. My youngest, I don't think he knows what he wants to do. He may want to follow in his brother's footsteps, but he's getting super involved in fitness and nutrition and making some huge progress and some huge gains. And so he's kind of trying to impart that wisdom and that experience onto some of his friends now. And so he's kind of, rolling into that personal trainer thing. He's working out with his friends now and, teaching them some things that we've worked out here and learned here. And so, who knows what he's going to do, but I told him at the end of the day, it's your choice what you want to do. You got to do what makes you happy, and you got to get value from it. So that's my best advice for people with kids.
No, absolutely. I mean, being in the fitness industry and everything myself, as well as, my first thing was, playing music and everything like that. And, it was the nicest thing to always have
my parents support me with what I want to do and whatnot, even if it wasn't necessarily the best thing that was going to make me money. It made me happy. And to have that support from your parents, I feel is so important. I know so many kids that, their parents forced them to go to college. They went to college. They didn't do anything. They got some other job. They didn't like it. Their relationship's bad with their parents because they're always harping on them about, how they didn't do what they wanted to do. So no, I think that's fantastic with what you've done. And I mean, they're doing some awesome stuff. That's fantastic to hear. Last kind of thing, obviously, you were, when I talk about a little bit about crypto, you were one of the first people that I reached out to as I was getting into it and whatnot. So kind of just want to ask, how did you come about it? How did you get into crypto and everything?
Just kind of, I've been watching it since like 2018 and just kind of threw like $100 or $200 into it in 2018 and just kind of watched it and played with it, sold things. I talked to a lot of people in the beginning when it first started because a lot of our detectives and stuff were dealing with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and stuff as related to, money transfers and things like that, related to crimes. And so it was definitely on our radar in law enforcement in the beginning. And, it fascinated me early on, but it also scared me, at the time you could buy 4 Bitcoin for a penny and you're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to invest in that. That sounds scary. And a lot of guys did, a lot of cops invested in it early. And I'm sure they're, doing very well financially. I just didn't. And like I said, in 2018 is when I got serious about it. March of last year, I still had, 8 months. No. Yeah, about 9 months left because I retired in January of my career. And I thought, maybe I can retire early and then jump into crypto because, Bitcoin's like $9,000 a Bitcoin. And everyone's like, oh, it's going to zero. It's going to zero. And I'm like, nah, I'm going to stick around, finish out my career, finish out my last part of my drop and my pension. And so I'm like, I'll just wait. And, when I retire, I'll get into it. Well, you see what happened in the last year. It went from $9,000 to we're at 67,000 the other day. So, I mean, probably not the best decision, as far as investment wise, but you know what, everything happens for a reason. And I got into it in early March this year. Got pretty heavily invested and started, flipping some different cryptos and making some money. And I'm not, by any means a millionaire. Some of these guys that are on there, they're making millions of dollars. To me, it's like, you can double your money or you can make 10% on your money. The bank's going to give you 0.5% on your money that's in there. So if you can make 5-10% on your money, you're doing well. If you can do better than that, that's awesome. And so I just think, to me, if you do your research, pay attention to what's going on, don't invest in garbage, make sure you do the research and watch these guys that are on YouTube doing these videos that have been through all these crashes and bear markets and all that other stuff. They're going to give you some great advice. And a lot of times they'll give you, James that we watch on Math, Money, and Freedom. That he's amazing. Guy does 16 hours worth of research on one coin. And so when he does all that, I don't have to do it. So if he comes back and says, hey, that's garbage, then I don't invest in that. If he comes back and, like he did with Solana, and he says, hey man, that's amazing, probably going to dump some money into that. I'm going to put a couple $1,000 in that. So, like I say, you do your research, pay attention to what's going on, and spend some time. Don't just treat it like a casino. And a lot of people do that because James will tell you, and that 95% of it's garbage. And can you get the quick pump and make some money? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's going back down. So you lose your butt if you don't pay attention. So I know a lot of people that are, I'm going to get rich, and they, lose everything they have. And it's like, stop it. You got to pay attention to it. And I do. I spend a lot of time watching videos and doing research, and just a lot of it's because it's fascinating. I may not necessarily even invest in any of the coins. I just like to watch them succeed. And I like the advancements. I like the technology. I like what these cryptocurrencies are going to do, and just platforms that are out there. The NFTs, I still can't figure it out. You're gonna have to explain that to me. I all I see is these digital pictures that I'm like, I'm not paying 10 Ethereum for that. I'm just not doing it. And so then the next thing you know, it's worth $3 million. So I'm still trying to figure that stuff out. I know the next big thing is going to be the whole gaming in crypto. Alex Becker and Elio from Elio Trades, they talk a lot about that. They're getting really involved in that. So I think in the next bear market is when those investments are going to be real super successful for people, as long as they get in early and then watch it, ride it up. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's definitely not, my everything I own in it, which a lot of people do. But I have enough in there just to play and make some money and enjoy, the technology and the advancement and how, Google and eBay and, Amazon and all these big tech companies, Tesla, 20 years ago were nothing, and everybody laughed when people were investing in those things. And they're kind of doing the same thing now with crypto. But something's got to give. I mean, Bitcoin is the answer to the inflation. It's the answer to the gold. I mean, gold hasn't done anything in 10 years. So you got an asset like Bitcoin that averages 200% annually on average. How can you go wrong with that? So a lot of people are turned off by crypto. A lot of people are scared of crypto, and it's mainly the people that don't do the research on it. So the best advice I give anybody, which is what I gave to you, is do your research. Watch these people on YouTube that are doing all these analyses and actually identifying these companies and who's running these companies and who's actually putting garbage out there to rip you off. I mean, those are things that you got to pay attention to, as you've seen, can really bite you if you don't. So, but at the end of the day, it beats 0.5% from the banks.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's crazy. Have you kind of showed the kids about it and stuff like that? Have they had an interest getting into it?
Yeah, my daughter, she does dollar cost averages. She's one of those dollar cost averagers. So every paycheck she puts, $50 or whatever in Ethereum, $50 in Bitcoin, whatever she can afford. And then my youngest was asking me about it the other day. He's like, "Hey, I really want to do that." I'm like, "Well, when you get a job, we'll dollar cost average you into stuff." And he's like, "Oh, I don't know if he thought I was going to give him money to invest or what," but we'll probably open him up a bank account and get him rolling once he gets his job and kind of teach him about it and just, different things to look out for. And like I tell them all, don't invest in something that you're not willing to do the research on. And because this isn't gambling, it's not something that you're going to throw out there and be a millionaire. So, and then my oldest, he does some Ethereum and stuff like that. So he's doing okay with that as well. So
awesome.
He's busy.
Yeah.
He's out there fighting crime, so he doesn't really have a whole lot of time for it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And it's that's such an awesome thing that you've a lot, shared some of the stuff and you've taught them a little bit about it. You know what I mean? It's like, so one thing I always look back, I was like, man, I wish someone showed me a little bit about the financial system and all the stuff that's going on, or even just stocks, you know what I mean? When I was 18, 19 years old and stuff, because now, what? Yeah, you too? Yeah, because I mean, it's like, man, I wonder where everything could have been at now, you know what I mean? But I feel that, let alone understanding the financial system that we've been using through, fiat and the central banks and everything, like a lot gets opened up as almost like Pandora's box. You're like, oh my gosh, this has been going on for all this time. And so I think that's awesome that you've kind of shared all that with them and allowed them to kind of get into it and all that kind of stuff. So cool, man. Well, other than that, that's pretty much it. Again, thank you so much for coming on and taking some time out of your day to kind of just share your story and everything you've been through and stuff. I mean, you've been through a lot. You've done a lot, not only for your family but for your community and the whole town of Scottsdale. And so as someone, like me, I'm super proud of you. I'm super stoked that, call you my uncle. And, yeah, man, you're an awesome dude. So yeah.
You've come a long way. I've definitely seen a huge change in the last 10 years and the things that you've accomplished. And we talked a lot about that at the time, when you came out and we were, rolling around in the patrol car. And, I said, the things that you do now, 10 years from now, are going to make a huge difference in your life and your family. And, you got the 2 little ones now. And so life's not about you anymore. It's not about the girlfriend, and it's about them. They're the ones that matter, and they're the ones that you do everything for. And as long as you keep that focus and you make it about them, you won't miss out, and they'll grow up knowing who you are, and they'll grow up, you'll be their hero, and without even trying. So just make it about them. And it's what life's all about, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're gone, they're going to carry on Christian Borge's name and is legacy. So whatever you give them to do that with, you'll either be proud of them or you won't. So work towards being proud of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Uncle Tommy, thank you again so much for coming on. Wish you and the family a wonderful day, and I got to get my butt out there soon and come hang out with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. And good luck on your new channel, and congratulations on that. And we'll talk more crypto in the future.
Absolutely. All right, bro.
All right.
Well, have a great day. We'll see you later.
All right.